Okay, good afternoon to all. Last lecture we have started last unit, and that is design of joints. And in that we have seen first of all bolted joint. In the bolted joint we have seen where advantages and disadvantages of that bolted joint. Also we have seen where these bolted joints are preferable and why we are using these bolted joints. And next part of this unit which we are going to start, that is this bolted joint. After seeing the advantages and disadvantages of this bolted joint, we have to move further and we are going to see in details these bolted joints. Getting. So here we are going to start today's lecture with important terms used in screw threads, because unless and until we are not going to understand the terms which are used in threads, we are not able to find out the various parameters or diameter of that bolt, and uh, we're not able to design a joint which can sustain the externally applied load. So that's why we are going to see first of all the terms, that is nomenclature of threads and screw. So here in this diagram, all the nomenclatures which are required to be known are mentioned here. First thing which we should know is the pitch diameter. Okay. So based on which we are going to design all these bolted joints, and this fastener is known by means of this diameter that you are going to call as a pitch diameter, or sometimes it is called as mean diameter also. This mean diameter is based on the major and minor diameter of that particular thread. Here you can see major and minor diameter, that is nothing but when you are going to consider a thread on nut, then it is a larger diameter, okay, up to which the thread is digged out or where the threads are manufactured. So this is bigger diameter as far as this nut is considered. On bolt also you can say the diameter which is measured from the upper side or outer side, that you are going to call as a major diameter. Whereas when the threads are manufactured on nut and bolt, we are going to have one more diameter which is measured from the inner side of the nut, and here in between the threads the diameter is measured, that you are going to call as a minor diameter. And when this major diameter plus minor diameter divided by 2, that is you are going to calculate the mean of that, that you are going to call as a pitch diameter or mean diameter. Okay, we are going to see that all definitions one by one on the next slide, but here just diagrammatically I want to explain it. Okay, so major diameter, minor diameter and pitch diameter, once you have find out, then we are going to see this pitch. Pitch is nothing but the distance between two successive threads on the similar point, that you are going to call as a pitch. Then the area of thread you are going to call as a flank, just like in case of gear. In gear also we use this term as a flank. That is nothing but the area from root of that thread to the top of that thread, that area you are going to call as a flank. Okay. Then this is the starting point, which is normally taken as a 0.5. That is depend upon the type of thread. Okay, it is not that much important. Then the depth of thread, that is nothing but the difference between major diameter and minor diameter divided by 2. That is nothing but how much deep that threads are thread on the nut and inside the nut and on the bolt. Okay, that you are going to call as a depth of that thread. Then root, that is nothing but the minimum diameter here in this case, that on the bolt. This term is used on the bolt only. For the nut, this term is not used, that is root. And crest, that is uppermost position and lowermost position of the thread. lowermost is known as a root and uppermost is known as a crest. Okay. Then slope which has been provided, that is denoted by the slope on the thread. Angle of the thread, that is nothing but the V-shape angle which has been made, that you are going to call as the angle of thread. All these terms are shown in this diagram, and later on one more term which is used in case of nut, not nut, bolt, but that diameter is called as the normal diameter of the bolt, where the threaded part is not present on the bolt. That part you are going to call as a, or that diameter you are going to call as a normal diameter of the bolt. Now see, this normal diameter and major, minor diameter and pitch diameter, they might be different from each other. Sometimes we have increased diameter for this normal diameter. Sometimes it may be less than any of the diameter of these three. Getting? So this is the separate term which we can see in case of these bolts. Getting? Any doubt? Any doubt regarding the slide? All the things which we have seen on that diagram. Okay, let me take that diagram on this page also, so that one by one we can compare all that. Terms, definition. I'll make this diagram small. Just for the understanding purpose, we are utilizing this diagram. Okay, later on, I will move to the other part. First is major diameter. It is the largest diameter on the external or internal screw thread. The screw is specified by this diameter. It is known as a outside or normal diameter. Okay, so outside or normal diameter, that in case of bolt or in case of nut. But the normal diameter, as I have explained you, normal diameter term might be different from the major diameter. Okay, it is just outside diameter of the thread, not of the remaining part, which on which the threads are not produced. But here, this normal means related to the threaded part only. Okay, so don't get confused in between this normal diameter and the normal diameter which is written here. This normal diameter has been written only for the part of thread. Okay, so that has to be understood. And next is the minor diameter. Minor diameter is nothing but the diameter which is measured. It is the smallest diameter of external or internal screw threads, as it is also known as a core or root diameter. Okay, if term core or root is used for this particular minor diameter, then one should understand what that diameter means. That diameter means the minimum diameter which is measured at the root of that particular thread. Here also it is an internal diameter which is measured at the crest of that internal threads. That is for the nut and this is for the bolt. Okay, so these two terms are also used for the minor diameter. Then pitch diameter. This definition for the pitch diameter, it is the diameter of an imaginary cylinder on a cylinder screw threads. Okay, on the screw threads, because this diameter just we are going to take the mean, mathematically you are going to calculate. So it is not present in actual. That's why it is said as an imaginary cylinder on the cylindrical screw thread, the surface of which would pass through the threads at such a point as make equal in the width of thread and the width of space between the threads. That means when you are going to just assemble this nut with the bolt, then when this pitch diameter is considered, It is considered as a that line or diameter which is going to face with each other. That is nothing but inner diameter of the nut and outer diameter of the bolt. They are coming on line, on same line. Okay, for the pitch diameter on that pitch line, you can say again pitch line. Okay, in the nut and bolt assembly, it is the diameter at which the reeds on the bolt are in complete touch with the reeds of the corresponding nut. That is nothing but at the top, it may not be guaranteed that. Okay, let me explain it. That means at the top, it may not be guaranteed that this part, that is the crust of this particular outer thread, is in contact with the root of this inner part of nut. But this slope is completely will be contact with the slope which has been provided on the nut, and where it is to be expected completely contact at the pitch diameter, that is at the mean diameter or pitch diameter. These two parts or points on nut and bolt, I will take different color. This point on the nut and this point on the bolt should be always in contact. Rest at the valley or at the crust, it may not be in contact with this point. That is this root and this crust may not be in contact with each other, or this crust and this root may not be in contact with each other. But these points which I have mentioned rightly, that points are always in contact with each other. It is assumed, okay, and it is there. That is, it is always in contact with each other for the better fastening or for the efficient fastening, you can say. Got it? Okay. Any question related to this? Let me know if you are having any question related to the terms which you are going to see. Can we move further? Okay. Now pitch, it is the distance. Okay. It is the distance from a point on the thread to the corresponding point on the next thread, that already we have seen. This is measured in an axial direction between the corresponding points in the same axial plane. Okay, should I take this diagram once again? As to explain the pitch, there is nothing but similar points on the adjacent threads. You are going to measure distance between them, that you are going to call as a pitch. Okay, mathematically, pitch is nothing but 1 over the number of threads per unit length of the screw. Per unit length may be 1 millimeter or 1 centimeter per centimeter. How many threads are manufactured? That is nothing but you can consider the pitch, that is number of threads per unit length of the screw. If the number is 2, then pitch is 0.5. If per unit length is measured in millimeter. If number of threads which are cut on the bolt is equal to 2 per unit or per millimeter, then pitch will be 0.5. That can be understood. But mathematically, for solving further problems, we are going to utilize this relationship. Concept can be understood on the diagram, but mathematically, when you are going to utilize, you can use this formula. Then lead, it is a distance between two corresponding points on the same helix. Okay, helix means if you are going to say this thread, these threads are manufactured in helical form, right? When you are going to screw it inside this nut, at that time, it is traveled in helical form. That is nothing but it is going to rotate about its own axis, but the distance by means of which it is rotating, that much distance is not traveled axially. Am I right? If it is rotating with one RPM, or not RPM actually, if it rotates by one revolution, okay, then the distance which may be traveled, that may not be equal to the one or thread distance between two threads. Okay, I will repeat it once again. एखादा स्क्रू जर एक रिव्होल्यूशन रोटेट झाला आणि त्यावेळेला जर तो या पॉइंट पासून या पॉइंट पर्यंत म्हणजे पीच एवढ्या डिस्टन्सनं जर ऍक्झिअली तो किंवा लिनियर डिस्टन्स ट्रॅव्हल झाला तर त्याला आपण म्हणतो की तो त्याचा जो त्याचा जो लीड आहे तो एक आहे. ओके, इट इज कन्सिडर ॲज अ लीड इज इक्वल टू 1. पण समजा एका रोटेशन मध्ये तो जर हाफ थ्रेड लिनियरली पास झाला, समजा एक रोटेशन केलं आणि इनिशियली इथं आपण स्टार्टिंग केलता कॉन्टॅक्ट, ओके, नट आणि बोल्टचा, आणि समजा इथंपर्यंत एक पूर्ण कंप्लीट रिव्होल्यूशन झालं आणि इथंपर्यंत तो हे एवढं डिस्टन्स ऍक्झिअली पास झालं त्याचं किंवा लिनियरली पास झालं इनसाइड दिस नट. ओके, इथंपर्यंत. तर ह्याचं लीड किती असेल? Yes, anybody of you? What will be the lead for this situation? एका रिव्होल्यूशन मध्ये हाफ थ्रेड पास झाला, ओके, ऍक्झिअली, तर त्या पर्टिक्युलर थ्रेडचं लीड किती झालं? आर यू गेटिंग माय क्वेश्चन? मी मगाशी तुम्हाला एक्सप्लेन काय केलं होतं की ज्या वेळेला आपण एक कंप्लीट रोटेशन पूर्ण करतो, 360 डिग्री रोटेशन ऑफ दिस बोल्ट, and if this bolt is passing its axial distance, linear distance, by means of one thread, म्हणजे एक कंप्लीट थ्रेड एक पिच एवढं डिस्टन्स तो पूर्ण करतो एका रिव्होल्यूशन मध्ये, त्याचा लीड असतो 1. आता हाफ ऑफ दॅट पिच हॅज बीन ट्रॅव्हल्ड, लीड किती असेल? Yes, you can write in chat box. Or should I ask question to a particular student? Anil Dongre, roll number 6. Will you please unmute yourself? Anil Dongre. Or can you write in chat box what will be the lead? Mr. Anil Dongre, roll number 6. Shivam, you have given right answer, but I want that answer from Anil. Will you please unmute yourself? Or can you write in comment box? Chat box, you can say. Anybody else? Soham, roll number 35. Will you unmute? What will be the lead in the case which I explained? Anybody else other than Shubham? You can write in chat box. Okay, if you know the answer, you can write in chat box. I will explain it once again. एक कम्प्लीट रोटेशन म्हणजे 360 डिग्री रोटेशन जर ह्या बोल्टचं कम्प्लीट झालं आणि त्यावेळेला हा बोल्ट आहे, कारण हा बोल्ट ज्यावेळेला आपण फास्ट किंवा या नटमध्ये बसवतो त्यावेळेला काय होतं की आपण हा रोटेट करतो. रोटेट करत असताना काय होतं की हे थ्रेड जे एक्सटर्नल थ्रेड आहेत ह्या बोल्टवरचे ते इंटरनल थ्रेडच्या कॉन्टॅक्टमध्ये येतात नटच्या. ओके, डायरेक्ट वी कॅनॉट पास इट, म्हणजे डायरेक्ट आहे असं आपण त्याच्यामध्ये बसवू शकत नाही, जसं बेरिंग शाफ्ट मध्ये बसवत तसं. तर काय करून बसवावं लागतं, हे रोटेट करून बसवावं लागतं. रोटेट होत असताना काय होतं की हा जो बोल्ट आहे तो अँग्युलर डिस्प्लेसमेंट होती प्लस त्याची लिनियर डिस्प्लेसमेंट पण होती. या केसमध्ये आपण असं कन्सिडर करू की नट आहे तिथंच आहे, तो अँग्युलर किंवा लिनियर मूव्ह होत नाही. ओके, दुसऱ्या केसमध्ये असू शकतं की बोल्ट आहे तिथं आहे आणि नट इज गोइंग टू हॅव रोटरी मोशन अँड हेन्स इट विल हॅव लिनियर मोशन ऑल्सो. गेटिंग, आणि बोल्ट आहे तो त्याच ठिकाणी. जर समजा आपण हे कन्सिडर करू की हा फिक्स केलेला आहे, नट हा फिक्स आहे, तो मूव्ह होत नाही त्या जागेवरून लिनियरली किंवा अँग्युलरली पण. ओके, आणि बोल्ट मग रोटेट करून आपण त्याच्यामध्ये बसवतो. पहिल्या केसमध्ये काय होतंय की हा बोल्ट जर एक कम्प्लीट रिव्हॉल्युशन होईल, 360 डिग्री रोटेट होईल, त्यावेळेला ते जे ट्रॅव्हल झालेलं डिस्टन्स आहे इनसाइड द नट, दॅट डिस्टन्स इज इक्वल टू पिच ऑफ दॅट थ्रेड. देन वी आर गोइंग टू से दिस लीड इज 1. आता काय करूया की एक कम्प्लीट रिव्हॉल्युशन झालंय पण फक्त अर्धच थ्रेड या नट मध्ये इन्सर्ट झालंय, तर त्याचा लीड किती असेल? The distance traveled in, you want to say traveled, Shubham, traveled in one complete revolution, that you are going to call as a lead. किती असेल? It will be 0.5. Am I right? कारण 0.5 पीच एवढा तो इन्सर्ट झालेला आहे. आणि हेच कारण आहे की हे नट आणि बोल्ट असतात डायमीटरने कमी, पण ज्यावेळेला ते एकमेकाकडे लोड किंवा व्हेन यू आर गोइंग टू कपल टू forces which are opposing with each other, or force which is coming together by means of this nut and bolt, is very large as compared to the capacity of sustaining load of one thread. एका थ्रेडची लोड कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी जी असते त्याच्यापेक्षा खूप जास्त लोड हे नट अँड बोल्ट एकत्र आणतात. यू कॅन टेक एक्झाम्पल ऑफ any plate which is fastened on a boiler shell. Boiler shell मधलं जे प्रेशर आहे ते खूप हाय असतं, that is not in the capacity of one single thread. त्यामुळे मल्टिपल थ्रेड टुगेदर येतात, ते सगळे मिळून तेवढा लोड सस्टेन करतात. And in that case, if you are going to join this nut and bolt or two flanges together having or applied by heavy load, and they, if you want to bring them together, then as this nut is going to travel much more distance than it is going to bring these forces together. Getting me? Applied load हा खूप distance travel करतो as compared to the externally applied load. Here we are going to get the mechanical advantage, like in case of slope we are getting, which I have explained in K-term subject. Okay, and here we are going to get this mechanical advantage, and hence this force which is coming together by means of this nut and bolt is very high as compared to the force which is required to fasten them together. म्हणजे आपण स्पॅनरनं जो फोर्स अप्लाय करतो तो खूप कमी आहे, त्यात अजून लिव्हरेज रेशो पण येतो, कारण स्पॅनर लांब असतो आणि जिथं फोर्स अप्लाय करायचा असतो where you are going to apply the torsional force. Okay, so force which is applied is very less as compared to the force which is coming together axially. म्हणजे axially sustain करणारा जो फोर्स आहे तो खूप जास्त असतो as compared to the force which is used to rotate this bolt. ठीक आहे, so lead is nothing but the distance traveled by in one revolution that you are going to say as a lead. And this lead may be more than one in case where the nut and bolt are connecting to important or we can say in case of boilers where it is required, or it is very harmful when the nut and bolt gets failed. In that case, this lead is kept as a more than one. But whereas it is required to easily dismantle, or this we have to open that bottle, suppose. In that case, what is going to happen in one revolution? We'll take an example here. In one revolution only, 2 or 3 threads are dismantled, right? म्हणजे इथं आपण हा जो बॉटलचं झाकण आहे ते एका रिव्हॉल्युशन मध्ये 2 किंवा 3 हे मोकळे होतात. ओके, पण एखाद्या ठिकाणी जिथं खूपच गरजेचं आहे की एक कंप्लीट रिव्हॉल्युशन मध्ये फक्त अर्धाच भाग त्या थ्रेडचा कव्हर केला जातो, जिथं फोर्स टुगेदर आणणं खूप इम्पॉर्टंट आहे. आता बॉटलचं ऍप्लिकेशन घेतलं तर काय, कस्टमरला रेडीली इट शुड गेट ओपन, म्हणजे लवकर ओपन झालं पाहिजे. नाहीतर तुम्ही जर ड्रिंकिंग वॉटर बॉटलचं जर फिरवायला लागलं तुम्हाला 2, 3, 4, 5 रिव्हॉल्युशन किंवा सारखं फिरवत बसून मग ते ओपन झालं, तर दॅट विल बी द बॅड प्रॉडक्ट. एम आय राईट? पण ही एकच फक्त रोटेशन केलं आणि जर ओपन झालं बॉटलचं टोपण, तर वी आर गोइंग टू say it as a good design from the ergonomics point of view. Getting me? That means customer has not required to waste his extra energy. पण ते केस मध्ये हे ठीक आहे. पण जिथं आपण बॉयलरला एखादा वॉल जोडतोय आणि तो हॉलचं कॅप जे आहे ते जर नट अँड बोल्टनं टाईट करायचे असेल, तर तिथं हाफ किंवा त्याच्यापेक्षा पण कमी आपण लीड ठेवू शकतो. ओके, कारण तिथं जे 2 फोर्स एकत्र येणार आहेत ते खूप ह्यूज आहेत आणि रेडीली म्हणजे ह्याचं कितीही रोटेशन झालं तर ती कॅप निघली नाही पाहिजे, कारण इट इज व्हेरी हार्मफुल. देयर मे बी चान्सेस दॅट ऍक्सिडेंट मे हॅपन. सो इन दॅट केस यू कॅन डिक्रीज द लीड, and where it is required open or close that threads, in that case you can increase lead. Okay, hope that you have understood the concept of lead. Any question? Let me know if you are having any question. Yes? Okay, no question, no problem. So we'll go to the next. That crust, as we have seen in the diagram, this crust is nothing but the upper part of the thread in case of external threads, that is upper part in case of internal threads. Okay, then root, that is lower part on the bolt. Okay, that you are going to call as the root of that thread. Then depth of thread, which has been shown here. It is the perpendicular distance between. Again, it is perpendicular, not a distance which is measured on slope. Perpendicular distance between the crust and root. In plank, there is a surface joining the crust and root. That surface which we have seen, that is called as plank. Then angle of thread, it is angle included by the plank of the threads. That is 2 planks which are making the angle with each other. That angle you are going to call as the angle of thread. Slope, it is the half the pitch of the thread. There is nothing but here it has been mentioned. Half the pitch, you are going to call it as a slope which has been provided on the thread. Okay. As per the standards of the threads, that is British standard or Indian standard, the slope may get changed. Any question? Let me know if you are having any question related to these slides which we have seen. If not, yes, we'll go to the next slide. And here we are going to see a simple analysis of bolted joint. Later on, we'll see some complicated analysis. Simple analysis in the case, here we are going to assume that this nut and bolt or fastener is used to hold this externally applied load. Okay, in the axial direction of this bolt. एवढंच आपण अज्युम करूया की हा नट अँड बोल्ट जे आहे त्याच्यावर जो लोड अप्लाय होतोय बाय मीन्स ऑफ 2 फ्लॅंज, दोन फ्लॅंज एकत्र जोडलेले आहेत आणि तो फोर्स अप्लाय होणारा हा एक्झॅक्टली पॅरलल आहे बोल्टच्या ऍक्सिसला, ह्या ऍक्सिसला. ओके, ह्या ऍक्सिसला तो पॅरलल फोर्स अप्लाय केलाय. In that case, we are going to calculate how the stresses are induced and how we can calculate the dimensions of this nut and bolt. Okay, once you are able to calculate one of the dimension, then by means of using empirical relationship, you can calculate or you can find out other dimensions of that bolt or threads. Okay, here we are going to consider that this externally applied force is applied parallel to the axis of bolt. And by means of this, we are going to do the analysis. Then definitely when the force is applied in this direction, then tensile force or tensile stress will be generated, that you are going to denote by sigma T in the bolt. And even in the threaded part of this bolt. Okay, then DC, that is the core diameter or inner diameter, and D is the outer diameter that we are going to mention here. H is the height of that bolt, nut. Okay. So by means of this, we are going to do the analysis and we are going to find out the stresses which are induced in this bolt. So in that case, what you are going to do is that first of all, only tensile load is applied, hence tensile stresses will be generated. Okay. Then the tensile stresses which are induced in the bolt, that you are going to calculate. The bolt studs and screws usually carry a load in the direction to the bolt axis, as I have explained right now, which induce tensile stresses only. That is, these bolts, studs, and screws are normally undergo to the tensile stress. Okay, they are going to carry the tensile stress. In some applications, they are coming across shear stress also, like in case of flange, where one shaft is going to rotate and another shaft is carrying that rotation, and flange is going to transfer that rotation from one shaft to another shaft, where the shearing will occur in case of these fasteners, that is nothing but bolts. Okay, but purely you are going to, first of all, you are going to consider this is undergoing to the tensile load. Hence, we are going to calculate the tensile stresses. Okay, let us consider that D sub x c is the root or core diameter of the thread, and sigma T is the permissible tensile stress for the bolt material. Okay, so bolt material first is tested, and then afterwards we are going to know what is the permissible tensile stress for that material. Now we know that force is equal to area which is undergoing for the stress multiplied by the stress. This formula is also derived from stress is equal to force divided by area. So force divided by area, just we are going to calculate the force which is sustained if permissible shear stress is known, that is, sorry, permissible tensile stress is known, that is tensile stress multiplied by area which is undergoing for the tensile load. Okay, that you are going to calculate. So hence we can calculate the load carrying capacity of that particular bolt. But if you are knowing the load also which is applied on that particular fastener, then you can calculate the, and if you are knowing the diameter or if you are not knowing the diameter, why? Because this DC has taken, will you please, one of you can give me answer that. My question is that why D is not considered, that is the normal diameter of that bolt is not considered, but DC is considered, that is core diameter, inner diameter is considered in this case for calculating the stresses. Anybody of you, will you please answer this? आता ह्या पी कॅल्क्युलेट करण्यासाठी आपण डी कोर डायमीटर म्हणजे कुठला की जो आतला डायमीटर आहे. ओके, मायनर डायमीटर that you can say as a core diameter also, that has been considered. Why? Let me know. Can anybody of you can write in this chat box. Simple question. Why core diameter is considered? Why not mean diameter, or why not the major diameter or the external diameter of that thread is not considered for calculating the stress or load carrying capacity of that particular fastener? Anybody of you? Balaji, will you please unmute yourself? Have you got what my question? Akshay Hetia, roll number 47. Will you please unmute yourself?
Yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah. Ah, yes.
So
Balaji.
there is a more stress concentrated area. Hence we consider this. Hello.
Ah, yes.
So what was the question actually?
Question is that in this case, why we have considered this root diameter? आता root diameter म्हटला तर कुठला असतो की inner diameter. ह्याचा घेतला तर inner diameter of thread डिझाईन साठी, लोड कॅरिंग कॅपॅसिटी साठी आणि स्ट्रेस कॅल्क्युलेट साठी कन्सिडर केलाय, ना की हा एक्सटर्नल डायमीटर डी ऑफ थ्रेड. असं का कन्सिडर केलंय? तिथे आपण स्ट्रेस
सर
असं काढू
ओव्हरऑल
शकतो.
मटेरियल म्हणलं तर तिथे बाकीचं मटेरियल कटिंग आहे, त्यामुळे मिनिमम डायमीटर कन्सिडर करावं लागणार थ्रेड मध्ये.
हा हा हा.
मेन डायमीटर घेतलं तर तिथं कटिंग मटेरियल पण ऍड होतंय त्यात, आणि बाहेरचं डायमीटर घेतलं तरी पण कटिंग मटेरियल ऍड होते. पण अशी ती एक पोझिशन आहे की तिथे कटिंग मटेरियल नाही, ओव्हरऑल म्हणजे फुलफिल्ड मटेरियल.
बरोबर. अजून कोणाला काय ह्याच्यापेक्षा वेगळं सांगायचंय? आता इथे compare if I am going to consider this external diameter, whether the stress value will be high or low for the same externally applied load P. समजा externally applied load, it will be high, right? If I am going to consider as a core diameter, what will happen? हा कमी करतोय आपण. बालाजी, समज 100 P आहे आणि मी अप्लाय केला इथं डायमीटर घेताना 15 millimeter for sake of simplicity, 25 millimeter as a external diameter. So stress will be 4. But instead of this major or a higher diameter, if I consider it as a 20, then 100 divided by 20, it will be 5. Okay. जसं आपण डायमीटर कमी करू तसा स्ट्रेस वाढेल ना, किंवा जसं डायमीटर वाढवू तसा स्ट्रेस कमी होईल, आणि आपल्याला रॉंग पर्स्पेक्शन दिलं जाईल की परमिसिबल स्ट्रेस आहे 4. ओके. आणि मग किंवा स्ट्रेस इंड्यूस्ड इज 4 न्यूटन पर मिलीमीटर स्क्वेअर and permissible is also 4 or 4.5. Suppose 4.5 is the permissible stress, 4.5 Newton per millimeter square. And if you are going to consider, if you are going to consider this external diameter is giving us value as a 4 and permissible is 4.5. That's why you can say it is safe. But as Balaji has said, this minor diameter or the diameter which has been measured at the root, this is less than diameter which you have considered. At this portion, the stress which will be get induced will be higher definitely than the stress which has induced where the threads are not cut and diameter which you have considered. In this case, apart from the stress concentration, In this case, the stress which will get induced will be 5 Newton per millimeter square, and allowable is 4.5. That's why you will say that this design is not safe. You have to increase what? You have to increase this diameter. Okay, that means you have to increase the root diameter or core diameter. If the root or core diameter is increased and made as a 5, external diameter may become as a 30 in that case. Okay, but root diameter has become 25, and then value will be there of stress as a 4 Newton per millimeter square, and then afterwards we can say now this is safe. Getting me? And that's why always you are going to take the core diameter for calculating stress or calculating the load carrying capacity. Okay, then this core diameter is given by under root 4p divided by pi sigma t, where sigma t is the tensile stress, allowable tensile stress. Getting? And if suppose we are going to use many number of bolts, suppose number of bolts are used as a n to sustain same amount of load which is applied. If 4 number of bolts are used, then this total load which has been applied will get distributed for this 4, because this suppose 2 plates which are connected together. If it is taken by the single bolt only, then it's okay. But if suppose you are going to use here one bolt, here one bolt, and this is side view, this is front view. So bolt number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are used, out of which we are going to see only 2 and 4, as we are going to see here side view. 1 and 3 are there, which are exactly below of these 2 and 4, right? So these 4 bolts are going to sustain the load which is applied, external load P which is applied, or W which is applied, we can say, will be sustained by these 4 bolts. That's why the load carrying capacity will get increased, and in that case, this diameter will maybe decrease. So this formula is rewritten only by multiplying the number of bolts which you are going to use to sustain same amount of load. Okay. This is the first thing which we have to note here while you are going to implement this formula. Next thing, in case the standard table is not available, that means for the fasteners, standard table is available, because already we have seen they are produced in mass quantity, and hence that standardization is maintained for the fasteners, that is nut and bolts. Okay, and hence any nut can be utilized for any bolt because they are standard. If you are going to say M8, then M8 is the standard which is used for that particular bolt. That is the mean diameter of 8 millimeter, and bolt you can choose for the that particular nut as a M8, and they are compatible with each other, so assembly can be done easily. Sometimes there are different manufacturers for the bolt and different manufacturers for the nut, so that are going to accommodate with each other. So in that case, if the standard table is not available, then this core threads or coarse threads, or the coarse threads means threads which are manufactured roughly for the coarse threads, then core diameter is taken as a 0.84 of the major diameter or normal diameter. Okay, so 0.84 is nothing but which is used when the core diameter is not given, or which is not non-standard bolt is used, in which this word is used as a coarse threads. In that case, this core diameter is taken as a 0.84 of the normal diameter. Okay, while designing any bolted joints. Okay, any question up till now? If not, we can move further. Let me know, are you listening me? Hello? Okay, no doubt. Yes, yes, yes. Please respond sometimes when I'm asking. Otherwise, I feel that I am talking and nobody is listening me. Okay, next, we'll go to the next slide. In this case, we are not assuming that this load which is applied only in the parallel direction of the axis of this bolt. It may be in this way, that is in case of flange, this particular load is applied to shear out the bolt. So we are going to calculate the shear stresses. Tensile stresses, no doubt that tensile stresses will get induced in the fastener in the majority things or majority applications. But there are some applications in which the shear stress will occur in the bolts. So here sometimes the bolts are used to prevent the relative movement of two or more parts. That is the relative movement of these two flanges. Okay, as in case of flange coupling. Then the shear stress is induced in the bolt. The shear stress should be avoided as far as possible for the fasteners, but we cannot avoid these fasteners for the flange joints. Okay, that's why we are going to use it, and we are going to consider that shear stresses will be get induced. Definitely, they are induced over there, and we have to design against that shear stress also of that bolts. We have to calculate the dimensions of that bolt against the shear stresses also, because we know that the shear stresses are half of the tensile stresses. Hence, definitely the bolt which is sustaining tensile stress, that may not be served in case of shear stress of same tensile stress, or the stress which is induced as a shear for the same capacity of tensile stress getting. So they are designed for the shear also. It should be noted that when the bolts are subjected to direct shear load, they should be located at such a way, or they should be located in such a way that the shearing load comes on the body of that nut, that is on the sunk of that nut. What now sunk of the nut is nothing but in case of, okay, where the threads are not manufactured, that you are going to call as a sunk. Okay, so this particular part is called as sunk. So we have to design these threaded joints in such a way that in case of shear, that the shear load will come on the sunk, not on the threaded part. Why? Because in case of threaded area, stress concentration is more, as well as we are going to have core diameter. But while designing, we are going to consider that core diameter. But on the sunk, if the load is coming, then stress concentration will not be affect on this shear. Getting? So we have to design this nut and bolt in such a way that the shear load will come upon the body, that is the sunk, okay, of the bolt, and not upon the threaded portion. In some cases, the bolts may be revoiled to of shear. That means sometimes they may be used for the shear stresses. Okay, load by using shear pins. That means this particular relieved, this relief is provided for the nut and bolt or for fastener by providing, okay, I will use different color, by providing some pins in between two flanges where the shear stress will be taken by these pins and known as the shear pins. Okay, now fastener is used here, but these pins are in taking the shear load, not this axial load which is coming on the flange. Getting? So these shear pins are utilized in some cases where the shear load is taken by means of pins, and only these flanges are kept together by means of nut and bolt. Okay. When the number of bolts are used for the shearing, then it should be finished one, and that means bolt should be finished, and it should be inserted in rammed holes. That means ramming operation should take place if you are going to utilize directly this nut and bolt for the carrying the shearing load. Okay, so keep in mind that these pins, shearing pins, are used. And one more thing is that this outer surface of this bolt should be finished well, smooth uh, surface should be there, and this hole inside which you are going to place the bolt, that should be rammed one. That is nothing but ramming operation should be done on that, and it should also smooth. Why? Because in case of rough surfaces, more stress concentration will be there, whereas on the smooth surface, stress concentration will be less. I'm not saying it will not there, it will be there, but it will be less as compared to the rough surfaces. That's why we have to make the surfaces smooth when you are going to use this nut and bolt or bolts for the taking shear load. Any question? Okay, we'll go further. Now let us consider that D is the major diameter. In this case, we are going to consider the major diameter for the design. Okay, because at all we are not going to consider that this shear load will come on the threaded part. It will come on the sunk of that particular bolt. Okay, that is where the threads are not manufactured. That's why we are going to use here major diameter for the calculation of load. And here is the number of hello, can you listen me? Yes. So n is the number of bolts which are used for taking the shear stress, and P suffix S is the shear force which is applied. Okay, then this shear force is calculated as the area which is undergoing for the shear of one single bolt, that is pi by 4 d square, multiplied by allowable shear stress tau, multiplied by number of bolts which are used. Okay, that will be the force which will be sustained, or shear force will rather than force saying shear force which will be sustained by the bolted joint. In this case, if the shear force is known, then we can calculate diameter, major diameter of that bolt by means of taking under root of is 4 P suffix S, that is the shear load, divided by pi tau into n, where pi is the constant, tau is the allowable shear stress, and n is the number of bolts which are used to fasten or to take the shear load as a P suffix S. Any question? Let me know if you are having any question. Okay, then as we have considered pure tensile stress and as we have considered pure shear stress, there might be some applications where the tensile load is also coming and shear load is also coming on the bolts. So in case of bolted joints, they are designed for the combined tension and shear stresses. Now in case of combined shear and tensile stresses, already we know that the maximum shear stress is given by half of the tensile stress square plus 4 into shear stress square, where maximum shear stress in case of bolt is calculated by force divided by area. Hence you can put value as a P divided by pi by 4 d square, where d is the major diameter and P is the load which is coming. Okay, this load is combination of tensile as well as shear. Okay, and we know that maximum tensile stresses are calculated as, in case of combined stresses, that is tension and shear, it is calculated as sigma t, that is the pure tensile stress, principal tensile stress, divided by 2 plus half of the under root tensile stress square plus 4 into shear stress square. These stresses should not be exceed than the safe permissible value for the tensile stress and for the shear stress. Then we can say the diameter which is used of that bolt is capable to sustain the externally applied load. Any question? Let me know if you are having any question. Otherwise, we'll stop here. Your next lecture will be start soon at 4:15. Okay. You can write your roll number in chat box and you can leave this meeting immediately so that I will come to know that who is remaining. Thank you for listening me.